Chapter 9 of The Worst Holiday. This is a longer one than usual, so I hope you can stay engaged. We did what we were told and went out into the nippiness. Eve and Peter, very jealous of us three being clothed, kicking themselves for hiding the car from us so we couldn't leave the hospital without us all resolving things. "'Tis a good job we didn't actually book a place to stay near the mountain," Simon said. "Ha, ha, ha, yup. If this trip had gone to plan, I would be back in the Bell, bossing people about and confiscating more cannabis for us," Ben confessed. "No biggie." Peter gulped, probably realising that it was because of him that him and Eve were standing naked with us outside the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in King's Lynn, instead of sitting in spoons post-shift admiring Eve's painting of us at the top of Ben Nevis. Then again, if he hadn't stopped us from getting on the next train from Peterborough to Edinburgh, we wouldn't be with Eve, and he wouldn't be with us either. Then again, times two, he was not enjoying this moment in the cold, especially because it started raining. To make the most out of the moist situation, he peeled back his foreskin, revealing glowing yellow clumps of dick cheese that spluttered to the ground. Immediately, everyone's vomit, apart from Eve and Peter's, piled like cowpats onto the revolting substance, yet it glowed through. Freaky. "Rank," Eve expressed. "I can't believe I was considering asking you to be my boyfriend, Peter," Eve added. "Wouldn't it be the perfect time to ask?" Peter replied. "I've just gotten rid of 34.5 years worth of dick cheese." "Yuck! No wonder it smells so strong," Simon said, secretly relieved that this scene Mr. Burrow had created was distracting everyone from the alarming fact that he had actually booked nowhere to stay in Scotland when everyone thought a spacious chalet was awaiting them. "You mean you have never peeled back your foreskin?" "Yup," Mr. Burrow confirmed. "Wait, you're 34.5 years old too?" Eve asked him. "Yep, I was born on Valentine's Day 1991, Peter answered. "Blimey, that is my exact birthday too. Gosh, it is meant to be. We've just gone vegan, we share a super romantic birthday, and our ages add up to 69. You have gotten rid of a lifetime's worth of dick cheese just for me." "So you weren't looking forward to scranning it?" Peter questioned, to a suddenly horrified face. "Would have been vegan, 'cause I would have consented." I believe that Eve had been contemplating sprinting the entire time we were outside the hospital, but she was attracted to Peter and knew how unfit he was, so they wouldn't have been able to go for a run together. It turned out that she was wrong. Now he had rid himself of that interleg mass, as well as being freezing, Mr. Burrow matched the artist's speed. We were all too queasy to even jog, and they were really going for it. Ben had eaten the most mouldy pig, so couldn't even walk. Simon and I took an arm each and started towing him in the direction Eve and Peter were sprinting in, but they were out of sight within seconds before they ended up giving us any idea where they had hidden the car. And we still needed to go back to the hostel, Hunstanton Backpackers, to get it reimbursed for our 3 pints worth of wasted dosh. I have forgotten to mention that, as well as flint, steel and drugs, the 3 of us did have a phone between us, and we were fuming with Peter and Eve to discover that what would have been a 23-minute drive was going to be 51 on the bus. It was 2 o'clock, so as well as walking a couple of cunty minutes, we had to wait another 24 for the bus. At least we could calm ourselves down with a spliff before we boarded. Strangely, that spliff made me go completely pale and feel even more sick. After I got on the bus and pretended to tap my card on the automatic reader that the driver wasn't monitoring, I chundered, and a passenger tripped getting up to grab a newspaper. Immediately, the driver shouted at us, meddling trio, to get off the bus and walk back to the hospital. "You belong there until death," he said, like someone about to activate an electric chair. Middle fingers up as we alighted, a reflex had us march aimlessly in the opposite direction of the bus, indeed back to the hospital. A couple of naked joggers crashed into us. "So, you two have made up then?" I said grimly, clothing them with my sick. "Yup," confirmed Eve, trying not to bring back her horrified face. "Where were you three off to?" "We're going back to Hunstanton Backpackers to get refunded the money for our stay that ended up being in hospital," Ben replied as my cheeks bulged with more chunder. "Why did you ask where we were going? We are still heading there." "Not before we find a way to get clean, dry, and clothed," Ben asserted. "Why only now do you care about being clean, Peter?" Ben asked. "Because he's my boyfriend," Eve bounced back with. "That's right," Peter beamed. "How about we head back to Tesco where we left the car and drive to mine to shower?" There was an uncomfortable pause. "Are you telling me that you remembered where the rover is, but didn't tell me?" "Oh, I thought you were running because you were cold, not because you'd forgotten where we parked," Peter answered Eve innocently. "I'll make it up to you by cleaning the sick stains after we sit in it." "Fair enough. At least we have been going in the right direction." "Deal," Eve confirmed. Being glared at for 41 minutes on the next bus as my sick dripped off Eve and Peter was not pleasant, but at least the other passengers wouldn't know that I had given myself a whitey. At least we didn't get kicked off the bus, helped by the fact that none of us threw up anymore. It was all worth it when we got to Tesco. Eve and Peter were shattered from running, and I was still queasy, so 'twas up to the toss of a coin to decide whether Ben or Simon was going to drive. Except none of us had a coin, so Ben pointed out that he was the boss of the bell, so he was best fitted to do it. As Ben was driving us to Peterborough to go round Peterborough's, Peterborough whispered to him that he was worried about how Eve would react to the mould in his shower. "Eve, how about we go round yours instead?" I suggested. "I am sure we would all love to see the art you have displayed around your house." "That is very nice of you to say, Tyler, but I have actually sold it all. Plus, since we're going to Peterborough, it only feels right to go round the house of Peterborough himself." I didn't say anything. Simon was asleep, and Ben was too busy jiving to James Blunt to pay attention to our conversation. Eve looked concerned. I just need to say this straight, Peter said nervously. I am anxious you won't want to use my mouldy shower. Oh my gosh, I wasn't expecting this, Eve replied. I'm not into mould, but would be happy to clear it out for you when I'm not so stressed by being covered in sick and having had to run to battle a cold. Thanks for being upfront with me. I appreciate it. I'll tell Simon to reprogram Ben's maps to my house when we get into Peterborough. Peter whispered to me that he was holding back from telling Eve to sniff his pits in celebration. I accidentally said, "Good shout," at a regular volume. What's a good shout? Peter and I were just agreeing that we shouldn't stop at Mackey's on the way because it would be grim to eat while covered in sick, and I'm still feeling queasy, I managed to think of in a second. Unfortunately, as the journey went on, us three in the back all followed Simon's suit and fell asleep. We're here, announced Ben, finally turning off the bland music. We were at Peter's house. After telling Simon that we forgot to ask him to reprogram Ben's maps, Ben said 'twas no problem to drive to Eve's then. But a minute into setting off again, we all fell back to sleep and he asserted, "Nope, I need a nap." Before Eve could point to her bedroom, Ben passed out in the hallway. Fuck it, let's go in your mouldy shower, Peter heard leave Eve's lips. Shortly after, Simon and I heard them giggling as they scrubbed sick off each other with what Peter admitted was a vegetable brush. Had Ben been up for it, we could have headed to the hostel as the new couple moaned along to George Michael, blocking out the rumbling of their stomachs. We were excited to listen to them have sex, but then they emerged from the shower saying they were too hungry. After we ordered and ate various tofu that is pleasantly sweaty in a bizarre sense, we hoped that Eve and Peter's passion would wake Ben up. It did not, but Peter managed to sling him over his shoulder and get him in the car. Then Eve drove us to the hostel. When we arrived, she put on heavy metal on full blast, which successfully disturbed the slumber of Ben, who then got snappy with us for not stuffing his face while he was asleep. "Oh no, not you again," the person at Hunstanton Hostel reception greeted us with, pretending to be joking. "Hello," I greeted them back in a cordial manner. "We're here because we think it is unfair that we were charged for our stay that lasted less than 69 minutes because we had to go to hospital." "That's unfortunate, but you did get my colleague fired for letting you haggle your way down from £20 each to £5 per bed." "And we could have bought 3 fucking pints with that money," Ben moaned. I glared at him for breaking the cordiality. "Sorry about my friend. He's an alcoholic rather deprived of If you were going to spend £15 on a cocktail, I think it is best that I don't refund you." Simon nodded in agreement, and we went to get back in the car. But it was gone.